Imagine you pick up your 2-year-old daughter from daycare, and 5 minutes later, police approach you like you've committed a violent crime. The afternoon sun was soft, harmless, ordinary. My daughter was exhausted in that dramatic, full-body way only toddlers can manage. She kicked, she arched backward, she screamed, "No!" like I had betrayed her forever. Every parent in that parking lot recognized the sound. It was the universal anthem of "I'm tired." It was normal. It was nothing. By the time I placed her gently into her car seat and reached for the buckle, sirens cut through the air. Not distant, not passing by. Close. 2 patrol cars rolled into the daycare lot, lights flashing against polished SUVs and minivans. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. A stroller froze mid-push. An officer stepped out quickly. "Sir, step away from the vehicle. Hands where we can see them." For a second, I honestly thought something had happened nearby. Something serious. Something dangerous. Then I followed the officer's line of sight and saw her. She stood near the sidewalk, phone still raised like she had just filmed evidence. Perfect posture, certain expression, finger pointed straight at me. "That's him," she said. "He forced her into the car. She was screaming. I think he kidnapped her." Kidnapped. The word hit harder than the sirens. Welcome to the HOA Tales, where entitlement always backfires. Smart wins, loud loses, every time. If you love sweet revenge served intelligently, you're in the right place. But before we continue, tell us where you are watching from. It makes us happy to see how far our stories travel. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. The officer studied me carefully. Not aggressive, just assessing. "Is this your child, sir?" "Yes," I said evenly. "She's 2. She hates car seats." My daughter was still crying in the back, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Her pink daycare bag sat beside her, her name stitched clearly across the front like proof I shouldn't have needed. The daycare director rushed out through the glass doors, slightly out of breath. "That's her father," she said immediately. "He picks her up every day." Parents nearby shifted uncomfortably. Eyes moved from me to her. One officer crouched beside the open car door and spoke softly to my daughter. She sniffled, wiped her face with the back of her tiny hand, and reached toward me. "Daddy," she whispered. The word landed heavier than any defense I could have given. Then dispatch replayed the 911 call for clarification. Her voice filled the lot through the officer's speaker. Steady, confident, certain. "He's kidnapping her. He's shoving her into the car." Not unsure, not concerned, certain. And when the officer's expression tightened, I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. She hadn't been cautious. She had decided who I was. And that decision was about to follow her much further than this parking lot. The officers didn't leave immediately. Instead, one of them asked the daycare director a quiet question I couldn't hear. She nodded and gestured toward the security office inside. The woman who had pointed at me shifted her weight, arms folding tighter across her chest. Not nervous, just defensive, like someone who still believed she was right. Inside the small office, the security monitor flickered to life. Grainy, but clear enough. The parking lot replayed in silent black and white. There I was, lifting my daughter gently. There she was, flailing like toddlers do. No shoving, no force, no panic. Just a tired child resisting bedtime that came 3 hours early. Sir leaned back slightly. The director crossed her arms. Silence again. But this time it wasn't heavy with suspicion. It was heavy with realization. When they stepped back outside, the energy in the lot had shifted. Parents were no longer watching me. They were watching her. The officer said evenly. "Ma'am," the officer said evenly, "the footage does not support your report." Her chin lifted. "Well, she was screaming. I was protecting a child." Protecting. The word hung there, polished and self-righteous. Then the second officer did something small but devastating. He replayed her 911 call. Not for clarification this time, but for tone. "He's kidnapping her." Not, "I'm not sure." Not, "It might be." Definitive, urgent, escalating. You could hear the adrenaline she had manufactured. A few parents nearby began whispering, One mother shook her head. Another muttered, "That's his kid. I see him every day." The woman's posture stiffened. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't softening. She was calculating. And then came the twist she didn't expect. The daycare director spoke carefully. "This isn't the first time you've reported something here." The woman blinked. Just once. Too slow. "There were complaints last month, and the month before. Both investigated. Both unfounded. She must have seen it spreading because she entered the chat herself. I did what any responsible adult would do," she wrote. "If more people spoke up, children would be safer." No apology, no hesitation. Just moral superiority wrapped in righteousness. I thought it would end there. An awkward afternoon, a warning, maybe a forced apology. Instead, that evening my phone started vibrating non-stop. The daycare parent group chat, normally filled with snack reminders and lost jackets, had exploded. Someone had posted, "Does anyone know what happened with the police today?" Within minutes, half the parking lot was typing. Then someone shared a screenshot. Not of me, of her. A parent had quietly recorded the moment she pointed at me and said, "He kidnapped her." Clear audio, clear face, clear certainty. The video wasn't dramatic. That's what made it worse. It was calm, confident, wrong. She must have seen it spreading because she entered the chat herself. I did what any responsible adult would do, she wrote. If more people spoke up, children would be safer. No apology, no hesitation. Just moral superiority wrapped in righteousness. The daycare director, who rarely engaged online, posted one sentence. For clarity, security footage confirms no wrongdoing occurred. False reports divert emergency resources. Professional, controlled, devastating. The next morning, an email from the HOA hit inboxes across the neighborhood. Subject line, community safety concern. She had taken it there. She described suspicious behavior and aggressive conduct without using my name. But everyone knew exactly who she meant. That was her mistake, because HOAs run on documentation, and documentation runs on evidence. By noon, the HOA board president had requested the police report number. By 3 p.m., they had it. By 5 p.m., they had confirmation that the call had been categorized as unfounded. That evening, an officer returned. Not with sirens this time, but paperwork, calm, official. He informed her that the department was reviewing the 911 call for potential misuse of emergency reporting. Not dramatic, not loud, just procedural. For the first time since that parking lot, she wasn't speaking. Curtains drawn, door closed. And while I buckled my daughter into her car seat that afternoon, slower, more aware than ever, I realized something quietly powerful. She tried to turn me into a headline. Instead, she had turned herself into a case file. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. HOA called a meeting. The room smelled faintly of polished wood and tension. Chairs arranged like a courtroom. She arrived, pearls slightly askew, clipboard clutched like armor. Every eye landed on her. Every whisper carried the weight of curiosity. She had built narrative in her mind. Heroic, protective, unassailable. But reality has a habit of rewriting itself quietly, elegantly, and cruelly. I walked in calmly, holding nothing but my daughter's hand. Sunlight caught her hair as she looked up at me, sleepy, trusting. The room shifted. Even before I spoke, a subtle current of power leaned in my direction. Confidence doesn't need volume. It needs presence. And in that room, presence was contagious. The HOA president cleared her throat. We've reviewed the reports and security footage. The allegations made are unsubstantiated. The words landed like a gentle but firm hammer. Gasps, murmurs. Her lips parted, eyes wide, disbelief radiating from every trembling feature. The very story she had spun to elevate herself had snapped under scrutiny. She tried to speak. The words stumbled out. I just wanted to make sure. The board exchanged glances. One member shook her head slowly. Another tapped a printed report. Silence. Sharp, crystalline. Humiliation doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, and in that room, it screamed. By the end of the meeting, she faced formal documentation. Misuse of emergency services, HOA complaints. Her credibility shredded in plain view of neighbors who had once nodded in agreement, now shaking their heads. And no one needed to shout. Justice arrived elegantly, methodically. Sometimes sweet revenge doesn't need spectacle. It arrives in form, in rhythm, in the collapse of false certainty. People see you yelling and imagine chaos. People see you composed and imagine power. The difference is subtle, but it resonates. And as I buckled my daughter into the car seat that afternoon, I looked back one last time. Curtains drawn, door closed. The woman who had tried to make me a villain now existed as a cautionary tale. All while my daughter's laughter, soft and unashamed, spilled into the afternoon air. Quiet wins. Smart prevails. Loud loses. Every time. Like, comment, share, and subscribe.